Hey, what's up guys? How's it going? My name is Mackenzie and we're going to be making an app using ARKIT where you can detect images and display some sort of information based on the image you detected. So for example, I'm going to go to my phone real quick. And the finished product looks something like this, right? So we have our camera open. If I point it at this manual, it shows some information about the manual. So if it focuses, it says gaming motherboard. Basic, by pointing my phone at it, it detected this image. So we're going to be making this index detects images, and based on the image that detected, it's going to show some sort of information about it. So let's get started. Hey guys, how's it going? So now that we're here on the PC, we want to create a new Xcode project. If you don't have Xcode, you can just download it from the App Store. It's a free program to create iPhone apps and create a new Xcode project. And it's going to be an AR application. So we're going to click that right there. We want to name this whatever we want. I'm just going to name it what image, or just image tracking. And I'm going to put this on my desktop. It says I already have a project named that, so I'm just going to click image tracking 2. Awesome. So now that we have our project, one of the first things we want to do is, so you want to take a photo of whatever item you're going to track. So I'm going to be tracking my motherboard manual. So right here, this is the image I'm going to be using. I already cropped it so it doesn't show the table, it just shows the manual itself. And you want to go to your assets folder. This is where we usually put our images. As you can see, we have app icon here. We're not really going to add an icon to this app, but you want to go to the plus sign and click new AR resource. So here is basically where you put, you could just name your resource anything you want, but here's where you're going to put all the images that you want ARKit or the app itself to track. So we're going to drag this image in here. Oops, why is it not? So let's just delete this and drag it into here. There we go. Okay, so Xcode is screaming at us, saying that the width needs to be positive. So we need to actually tell it the size of the object itself. I already measured it in advance. The width is actually 5.5 inches, and the height is this. So there you go. The warning goes away. If you're brand new to making apps, I'm just going to explain the overall layout real quick. Let me just expand this for a second. Cool. So once we're here, if you go to the main storyboard, this is where you usually design your apps, but because our app just mainly uses the camera, as you can see, this is our main screen. And if you go to the third tab, 1, 2, 3, the third tab, and you select our screen right here, it tells you that this screen is going to use this class called ViewController, which if you view on the side is this file right here. So if we look at this, once the view did load, it's going to, do all the stuff that Xcode wrote for us, and it's going to load right here. As you can see, it's going to load this file called ship scene, which is inside our art. And if you go in here, we have a ship, which we don't really need. So we're going to make sure we delete this. We deleted that. Command S to save it. Let's keep reading. So if you see, it says view will appear, and it's going to do this configuration, which is going to do world tracking configuration. We actually want to do image tracking. So we're going to do AR image tracking configuration. Now, all that did was set the tracking to, set the configuration to use image tracking. Now we still need to tell it which images to use. Now, if you recall, we did create a folder inside our assets called images. We're basically going to create a variable which links to this folder. And the way we do that is we're going to create a variable. So let's click here. Let images equal AR image reference. And once we have the reference, we're going to do dot reference. There we go. And then in the group, we're going to, if you read the group, it says in group name, which is, if we go here, the name of it is images. So in here, we type images or whatever you named it. For bundle, we do not really need one, so we're gonna put nil. Perfect. So now we created a variable for our, created a variable for our images. We need to link these two together. The way we do that is go to config dot, and it says tracking images. So which images do we want to track? Well, the images variable, which is our folder. It's gonna have a warning saying like, hey, you need to unwrap this. So the way we do that, exclamation point right there, and we are good to go. So the next, so our program is already tracking images, but once it detected an image that we have inside our folder, what do? So we need a function for that. We're going to delete all this extra code here because we're not going to use it. We're going to use this function called did add. There we go. Awesome. So in here is this function is what runs when an item is detected. So we need to, if you look over here, we have an anchor. This anchor can actually detect objects or images. So we need to make sure that it's actually tracking, it's actually an image anchor. So the way we do that, we do a guard statement. So the guard, I'll explain what this is in a second. And we're gonna make sure it's an anchor. Okay, so I'm going to explain what this line does. This creates a variable called image anchor equals anchor, which is this value right here. And we're going to make sure that anchor itself equals an AR image anchor. So if it does, continue running our program. And if it doesn't, return, which basically means get out of this program. AKA, if it starts to detect other things that are not an image, then we don't really care about it. Don't do anything that's inside of here. But if it detects something that's an image, well, let's keep coding. So once it detects the object, what we want to do next is just command save it real quick. And we need to give our image a name. So let's give our image a name of gaming. This way, let's say you have a whole bunch of different items in your house, right? And you just add all the images, give them all names, and what you can do is detect. So right now it's looking at our folder, right? We need to like, how do we know which image is the one that it found? The way we do that is by the name. So we get the name by doing let name equal image anchor dot reference image and then name. So that itself will give us the name of the image that it found. Once we have the name of the image, first we want to think about what we want to display, right? We're going to be using this CocoaPod. Oop, it closed on me. Let's see if I can just go to my history and get the CocoaPod itself. Yep, cool. So we're going to be using this CocoaPod right here. This is the one I used. It shows this cool little pop-up. And to install it, we're going to copy this line right here. If you don't have CocoaPods installed, click on that. And all you do is go to your terminal. If you don't know how to go on your terminal, you click the spotlight, type TER, and terminal pops up. Here's your terminal. And you'll copy this one line to install CocoaPods. I already have it installed. So what you want to do is CD, which means current directory. And where's our folder? So my folder is right here. You want to drag that folder into the terminal. There we go. Sweet. We're going to close our project for a second. And we're going to open this folder just so we can see the changes that CocoaPods is going to do inside of it. So first thing we're going to do is do a pod init. This is going to make us a pod file, as you can see right here. Now we can edit this pod file using Nano, or we can edit this pod file using any text editor you want. I'm just going to use a text editor because I'm kind of lazy. So in here, we copy this CocoaPods. CocoaPods is where you basically use plugins and libraries. So we go to this line where it says pods for image tracking. Paste our CocoaPod, save it, exit, and on terminal we do pod install. So as you can see, it just added all these different files for us. So before we only had a Xcode project. We don't use the Xcode project no more. We're going to use something called Xcode Workspace, which the main difference is that it adds our pods for us in a different project, which is exactly what we want. So if you go here and go to ViewController, scroll down, and okay, so we have the name. What do we want to do? We want to create a similar pop-up. So if you read this, it says displaying the bulletin. So what we do is we need to create a variable for this. And then, so you have the item manager, and it takes some sort of, to create your own item. So if we scroll down, it tells you how to create an item, which is right here. So all we do is create an item and then assign it to the root. And then we display it. So rather than this repeating this over and over for every image, we're going to create a function. So function show pop-up. Show pop-up. And then we're going to edit the content of the pop-up by creating variables. So we're going to create an argument. So it's called title, and then description. If you're new to programming, I'll explain what this all does in 1 second. So we go here, we're going to copy this, Control C, paste it in there. We're going to have some errors, that's fine. Copy this. And for root item, well, this is how you create an item. So we just copy that, copy page, put it in there, and now we edit this. Sweet. All right, so we're not going to use an image. And then we're going to delete the lazy, and we're good to go. Now it says, well, can't find anything named item manager. That's because I forgot to import it. So we got to scroll up and do import B. There we go. That is our plugin that we installed. So now that error should go away. And for the title, we're going to use this variable up top called title that we created. So here, where it says title, we just type title. Where it says description, we delete all this, and we put description. And for the buttons, we're just going to leave them default for now. And save it. Awesome. So now we have this. And it's saying, hey Mac, you never use this variable. So we need to actually use it. So we created our pop-up and we need to display it. So we do this right here. So we're just going to copy this, paste it in here, and that error should go away. No more warnings. And we have another problem. Okay, let's see. Okay, so the problem with this, I copied it and I pasted it in, not inside the function. There we go. It belongs in here. Okay, so this function is going to take 2 arguments, title and description, create it, and display it. So now we want to just call this anytime we want to display something. So we're going to do a switch statement. So I'll explain all this in a second for those who are new to programming. And in here, we want to put different kind of names of our images. So we have an image called gaming, remember? And if there's an image called gaming, we want to do pop-up, and the pop-up name is going to be, let's say, gaming computer MSI motherboard. And for the default, we'll just do, because you do need a default, so let's just put no image. Okay, so let's just Control B, make sure we have no errors, and we do have an error. So here it is, missing argument. So let's just, oh, I do have that argument already. It's right there. And what's next? I already have a default. I think it's just Xcode glitching on me. So let's just try to build it again. so weird that it's okay, so let's just look at this for a second. We have a default. So because I need to include a break, usually you don't need to. We do have a default already. That's so weird. I'm gonna try to clean the project by going on top and clicking product and clean build folder. Okay, so we have an error here. Oh, we have an error here because I forgot the quote. And then this just actually, oh, I don't want to run a simulator. Command B. And no more errors. Yeah, that was so weird. It was just Xcode breaking on me. So I'm gonna explain what this all does real quick. So we created an image anchor, right? And we get the name of the image that it found, right? And what a switch statement does is like, hey, look at this variable called name, right? And these are all the different options that this variable could be. So if the image it found, if the name of it is called gaming, show this pop-up with the title gaming computer and then the description MSI motherboard. So then it sends these values to this function, which assigns those two things right there and then shows it. So we're gonna have an error real quick, and it's because we're showing stuff technically not on the main frame. So how do we go to the main frame? I actually kind of forgot. So we're gonna Google Swift mainframe, and it's this function right here. And we're gonna paste that in there. Oop. Paste that in there. Copy our code and go here. So the reason you need to be on the main frame is because when we're displaying it, the camera is still on top of it. So we need to make sure we go on the main frame above the camera basically and display this plugin, display this pop-up. So everything is looking good. It's saying, okay, you can make this a let because we're never actually changing this variable, which is true. We can make this a let. That wouldn't break anything. And this should work. So I'm gonna actually run this on my phone. I'm gonna plug in my phone. Hey guys, so look, as soon as the app finishes building, it says, do you want to give access to the camera? Click yes, camera opens. If I point my camera anywhere but the manual, nothing happens, correct? But as soon as I point it to the manual, it says gaming computer MSI motherboard. If you guys did enjoy this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, tell me, what you guys want to see next, and hope you guys enjoyed it. See you guys.